Hello, I'm Jim Ware, and I'm coming to you from my home office just outside of San Francisco, California. I regret that I can't be with you in person, but I do want to thank Francisco for giving me this opportunity to share with you some of my thoughts and recent experiences regarding the future of work, and in particular, the future of the corporate office. By way of introduction, I'm the founder and executive director of a small think tank called the Future of Work Unlimited, and I'm also the global research director for Occupier's Journal, which publishes Work and Place. Now, Francisco asked me to share these thoughts with you at an absolutely perfect time because I've just returned from the Workplace Strategy Summit that was held outside of London just last week. The summit was sponsored by the IFMA Foundation, and it included over 130 workplace strategists, architects, and facilities managers from all over the world. It was a real pleasure and a stimulating and exciting set of conversations over 2 days. It's not very often that I get to sit at a table and share my thoughts on workplace strategy and the future of work with strategists from Iceland, Poland, Thailand, Australia, the UK, and many countries in Europe as well. As you can imagine, the conversations and the presentations were exciting, provocative, and incredibly diverse. But I just want to share 3 big ideas that I came away from the conference with. First, our opening keynote presentation was by Professor Frank Becker of Cornell University here in the United States. Professor Becker started by encouraging us to use and rely on evidence-based design. As he put it, no one would invest $10 million in the stock market and then never check back to see how that investment did. Professor Becker is concerned that too often that's exactly what happens in the world of facilities and workplace construction. Secondly, Professor Becker also encouraged us not to rely on academic research, but rather to depend on what he called practical or management-oriented research, the kind of data and evidence that affects actual decisions in the real world. My second big insight came from Frank van Massenhoven. Frank is president of the Belgian Social Security Service, and he told us about how his office and agency had significantly improved productivity, reduced workplace costs, and reduced loss of good talent by relying on what he called collective or shared leadership and open participation in decision making based on trust that the employees themselves know what is best for their work and their organization. Mr. Van Massenhoven's presentation was clearly the hit of the whole conference. He excited us with his leadership style and his stories about how relying on the skills, the talent, and the engagement of the workforce itself, and not on top-down direction-making authority, produced such outstanding results. It was a really exciting story, and one that raises some really interesting questions for all of us about what kinds of workplaces would support that kind of shared leadership and open shared power in a large organization. And my third insight came from another speaker who was focused on flexible work, telecommuting, virtual teams, and distributed decision making. She made the very simple but profound observation that we need to make sure people can work at home and feel at home at work. In other words, we need to be comfortable with people who are working anytime, any place, and we need to make sure they're comfortable as well. Today's technology enables a radical shift in the way we think about where, when, and how work takes place. Finally, Professor Alexei Marmot of University College London, who was our host for the summit, reminded us that most people in the world do not work in offices, and that there are many other kinds of workplaces. Places like factory floors, retail stores, mines, construction projects, airline flight attendants, sports figures are all working even though they may not be in an office. And we need to remember to pay attention to those kinds of facilities as well, and not to leave them behind in our focus on knowledge work and knowledge workers. It was without a doubt an exciting and a very energizing experience. In closing, let me just share a couple of my personal thoughts about the future of the office. I think it's clearly going to be smaller and much more densely populated than the offices that we know today. People will be coming and going far more frequently than they do today. The office will become a place where we go to meet with other people, physically, face to face. And I think that will eventually become its primary purpose. Why should we get in a car or get on a train or a bus and travel for 30 or 45 minutes or an hour to sit at a desk and do individual work on a computer or by telephone that we could do from a home office or from a co-working facility near where we live? I really think the corporate office is going to become part of a much larger network of facilities as people move around from day to day and hour to hour to get their work done. And finally, remember, the office of the future doesn't exist yet. We're all inventing the built environment together, day by day. Let's work hard at being creative and innovative and creating places that will both enhance organizational productivity and personal and individual satisfaction and happiness. Again, thank you very much. I hope you're having a wonderful conference.